You're in a good spot because
I thought about putting
that was definitely one of my go-to picks as well, because that Teros and the Ulgrim, damage on damage on damage, so hard to deal with. But on the opposing side, we're going to see the winner of that round one we saw before. We're going to see
the cannons are going.
There is absolutely no thought going on. Everybody is firing squad on deck. This is incredibly offensive start here that we're seeing from Ninja and Knees already. But it's gonna be Hazer Delta to come through and slow that down a bit.
And we've seen a lot of variety today, from some games having 4 completely different characters with like completely unique weapon sets as well, to where there's very little overlap, if any. That's going to continue here, though we do still see some traditional picks. Looking at the red team with the Ulgrim and the Teros.
Yeah, the fear that Delta gets to put into you with Teros, just staring down the KO power of both Hammer and the Axe. But the biggest thing is watching out for when Macheeete lines up for those SIGs, because if you're near the ledge, they're going to try and catch you with a GC neutral SIG just to go and snipe a free stock. So you have to watch out for that any given time. But the the blue team, keeping their composure, of course, getting that damage on. This is a very solid start from both teams, but what is it about the blue team that you feel that can work really well against the consistency that we know of Macheeete in Delta?
It's game 1, and Sarme is on a different character, so honestly, I would need a little bit more data to actually make a true assertion.
I just realized I completely messed up the names. Fozey and Sarme. I was not paying attention to that at all. Look, I heard cannons and I assumed the ninja.
Yeah, right? I mean, you're not totally crazy in doing that. I don't blame you for that. Oh, complete stomp coming out from Sarme, and he's able to get back. Fozey's going to eat a ground pound, but Sarme was there to hit the recovery unarmed onto Delta, completely moving him away, so there was no follow-up engagement. Delta wanting to take Fozey on the edge again, at a weapon disadvantage. They're getting lower and lower, and I'm seeing sweat beads coming out.
I feel like fighting against Sidra on the ledge is one of the scariest things to do in this game, whether you have sword or you have access to the cannon, because those things cover so much room, but just the pressure that she puts on staring you down at the ledge is so frightening. And speaking of frightening, Fozey's been holding on to this life very well, but so has Delta. That is so deep. Cannon weapon toss down, and Delta just avoids a follow-up. Delta's doing such an amazing job of holding on to this. It's going to be, in fact, Delta that takes out Fozey Sidra's second stock finally.
Now, unfortunately for the blue team, like, Fozey got the spiking angle on the anchor, but his opponent wasn't damaged enough for that to lead to the KO. That was like the perfect pickup that every Sidra player dreams about, but unfortunately didn't lead to the KO, and Fozey fell. But if you want some good news for the blue team fans out there, Macheeete is very close to being taken out, but it's an Ulgrim. You know those EU Ulgrims. I swear they just have an additional point in defense, maybe 2.
I feel like it's, for some reason, it's just that plot armor. The way that they're able to extend the stock as long as they do, that is a hard team to take out in general, is what I would have said, because Macheeete is in fact going to go off the top. You do have Delta with Axe in hand. That's if that even matters, because having a hard time landing these combos coming in so clean right now from Fozey and Sarme.
Edgeguard situation, another Sair lands onto Hazer Delta. I guess he just goes by Delta now. He's cleaning that one up. The artist formerly known as Hazer Delta is now just Delta. Nice and clean on that. They're ending this game pretty clean as well. I don't blame them for not going ham onto Delta whatsoever, because they are both very damaged. Delta's Teros, so playing this slow, not a terrible idea whatsoever. That almost KO'd, but not quite. I believe another one will.
Yeah, the other one should definitely take it out, and a Sair will definitely take it off the side. Neutralites as well. You got to watch out all the coverage right there, the Neutralites and the jump Sair, but kept forcing him to go low from the weapon toss, and immediately covering the low recovery from that was Fozey. That, I agree heavily with the fact that you don't want to go too crazy there, because it's Teros, and also Delta's been in this position before. He's going to look for you to give a free punish to get himself back into the game. But the way that they kept their composure, they had stage positioning. There's no reason to go crazy. And as soon as the weapon toss came through, that's the time to move forward and try and get it. Because even if you miss that, Delta's got to go low. And after Delta goes low, that still allows, I believe it was Sarme. Yeah, Sarme, who was on the top, to still cover early high recovery. So they had a lot of position there that worked well. But look at that KO power that comes in on the side of Sidra and Zolt, just staring that down between the cannons, but just the power in general of having to deal with them. This is a good answer to the KO potential that we see from Ulgrim and Teros as well.
I would definitely agree. And from Macheeete specifically, he's going to have to step up on the damage front. Because if you're looking at everybody else, it's pretty healthy numbers. Sarme at 521, solid number. Fozey at 637, great number. Delta at 620, a great number as well. Meanwhile, Macheete's down there at 415, so significantly less damage than everybody else in the game. He's going to have to step that up.
Yeah, especially with the fact that Macheete's ability to kind of close the gap on everybody with the Lance is just better than most. But the fact that you're staring down double cannons, I think he might just be a little fearful of what he wants to go for there when he's trying to rush in. A goal for a ground pound does in fact connect on the second one. Weapon toss down to cover it, and there's no team to be found because Delta had Fozey completely distracted in center stage.
That was really tough for Sarme, not only because Fozey was completely unable to rotate over and relieve that pressure, but because Sarme started off so strong. His cannon pressure was incredible for the first like 10 to 15 seconds of the game. He was Frank Reynolds, just started blasting all over the place, and he was finding hits, wasn't getting hit too much, but that edge guard situation sort of ended that first stock prematurely.
You know, from that very first game today, up to this point, Fozey's change has been insane. Fozey is now refusing to give up stocks, constantly getting KOs. Before we saw the switch up to the Orion, but this, now with the Syndra, is not only been working well in terms of getting damage, but the ability to hold on to stocks, which unfortunately might turn red team's focus more onto these. I think they realize that Fozey refuses to actually give up any, so they're going to just continuously try to 2v1 Sarme, and it's been working.
Take him out of the game, and then they have the 2v1 where Fozey might have 2 stocks, also could only have 1 stock. That's a simple cleanup for this red team. But Delta also on his final stock. We're dead even, and actually Fozey and Sarme are a little bit ahead just in terms of damage. Sarme fighting the unarmed weapon disadvantage on the side. Fozey coming in. He's going to get hit with a neutral light from Macheeete's spears, tries to get back on the main platform. Sarme still without a weapon here, rotating over all the way to the left side, relieving pressure, grabbing the weapon, and starting the edgeguard situation.
Oh, but Delta immediately coming in afterwards, relieving pressure, trying to get the follow-up. But luckily, Fozey was there, even unarmed. It's like, no, absolutely not. I can't let this go away because Delta has such a good position. Sarme just needs to be careful about the recovery here. The reverse hit is going to get the hit away, but the instant recovery from Fozey coming through. Sarme has been fighting for this stock for so long to try and stay around Fozey, and then accidentally Fozey comes through and hits the weapon toss. Does get the wall touch, however, but now they're both stuck on the wall because of that.
Oh, that was only, okay, they're at least trading 1 for 1, but Sarme is so damaged on this final stock compared to Delta. Delta's in the orange, Sarme is in the red. So much KO potential from the red team could end this Sarme stock earlier than if it was a different team comp.
All of that came from the fact that Fozey accidentally hits Sarme with that weapon toss, so they were forced to deal with that. But Sarme holding on to the stock very well. He picked that up on the side, weapon toss down. Oh, double coverage, but they're both going to go down. And now it's Fozey versus the Taros on the side of Delta. He has the ability to get in pretty quickly, but you are pretty close as well to D-Light recovery ranges, D-Light Sarah as well. You have to be careful here if you're Delta to not get too antsy to try and get the stop stairs and get that damage on.
Unfortunately for the blue team, Sarme just went a little bit too ham on the edge against Delta, and he was more than happy to reach up with that hammer recovery to get the KO. A lot of punishment coming out from Delta. Ooh, that was close to hitting. There is a weapon spawn on the field, but Delta has stage control.
Now switching it up to the axe, trying to get him on the other side, but the weapon spawn immediately on time from Fozey and tries to go for the
nice coverage.
That was so good. That was so good. Going for the sig to force him to go back down, and then immediately covering, going off stage with the dare. That was perfectly executed, and that was a perfectly timed weapon spawn for Fozey.
What an incredible end to that game from Fozey. He started taking punishment when he was in that final 1v1. Then all of a sudden, towards the end of that game, he started to fight his way back. Beautiful weapon toss towards the end. That beautiful coverage with the cannonball into the neutral light, covering the high and then the low option. The weapon toss got the dodge. He was able to clean it up with a down air at the end. Fantastic play from Fozey.
Now, what do you want to see out of Macheeete and Delta to make this to get this comeback? Because you already mentioned before how Macheeete hasn't been answering enough to really make things work, but I think a big part of it for me personally is I haven't really seen a lot of the Lance lead to anything. Usually the Lance is a big issue. Macheeete will get as many free combos as he wants, and it lines up for Delta to seal the deal. I feel like he's getting interrupted a lot, potentially from the cannons, but it feels like something a little bit more. What is it so far you're seeing out of the habits of him that has not been working?
I think it's a character pick. I think it's not really doing that much for him. The damage numbers reflect that. If you look at just his overall character pool and you're looking at where the Olgrim might be, it's definitely lower. It's like his top 8 character, level 45. He has a lot other characters above that if he wants to stick with the Lance. There's an Artemis here. Definitely a side player when you look at the pool. Mordex, Mirage, Artemis, Nyx. Those are all above the Olgrim. So maybe go the Artemis pick if you want to stick with that.
Yeah, I feel like it might just be one of those things where they're so comfortable with it.
What's going on?
But they're absolutely mauling. We talked about all that.
I was looking at stats and then...
But look, Macheeete had one really good edge guard off the start, so it's like, okay, that's good. But then all of a sudden they decided to speedrun any percent Fozey and Sarme. So so for the looks of things, we're looking at a game number 4 already.
Yeah, they just made me look like a big old dumb idiot, which like isn't that hard to do. Honestly, mostly I do it to myself regularly, but man, I was just looking at stats trying to provide some empirical evidence, and then they said, evidence be darned. I'm in control, not the numbers.
Well, blame that one on me, because I was the one who forced you to look at the numbers for a second.
Dude?
Hey, look, man, you left me hanging before with whatever lineup of a sentence that you tried to get, and it was just
leave
done.
You hanging. You left me hanging.
Look, man, all I'm saying is having Sparky look a little bit ridiculous up here is kind of fun sometimes. But now the red team looking kind of ridiculous too, because that 3-2 lead they had is now 2-1 in favor of the blue team.
Yeah, what is going on, dude? Macheeete did 387 damage last game. Who's this guy?
Now it's on Fozey to see if he can stop the bleeding, because they made an incredible comeback. But now you have to deal with a 2v1 on the side of all of this range. But Fozey just running in on him, has cannon in hand. It's one of the more committal options that you're going to be going for with this character. It's not the easiest thing to do. You kind of want to get the sword so you just get separation. But it's pretty rough right now because Weapon Starve is working. They got back to the axe. You're not making that one back. And we see a game finally going to the side of Macheeete and Delta. Oh, excuse me. There was one more stock left. Never mind. Now I'm looking foolish.
Yeah, but that was your own fault. I didn't debate you into that. You just didn't read.
You didn't speak up quick enough to save me before it happened. Well, let's see if we can see a save coming from Delta, because Delta is pretty deep, and you see Fozey absolutely hunting him down.
He wants that stock from Delta so bad, because he knows that's 1v1 territory against someone who is evenly damaged to him.
Ooh. Okay, good.
This is his chance. Nope. Taken away.
Weapon toss down, just continuing that. I don't think you're making it back down after this.
I think he was afraid of possibly dropping the ground pound after he hit the D-light. He didn't want to worry about that, so he'd rather get the damage. Dude, wait, what? I guess that makes sense. Macheeete like still doing mid 300 damage, but this time he's just taking stocks early. Yeah, so he doesn't need to do more damage.
I think a big part of that definitely had to do with stage pick. There wasn't as much room to cover. He was getting a lot of reverse hits of not only recovery, but he was landing multiple ground pounds. He was actually getting edge guards where they mattered. But then all of a sudden they almost threw it away.
Yeah.
So that whole game was chaos incarnate, and now we're going to see a switch over to Miami Dome. I think it's the first time we've seen this all day.
Yes, certainly is. Starting this one off, we are getting no character swaps from either team whatsoever. Sarme coming in with the axe. Everybody has a weapon pretty early into the game. No major swings whatsoever. It's mostly been just main stage chaos.
Yeah, that was a good team combo, at least to get some damage on right there, but it's still even across the board. Going for big plays to center stage, trying to catch two of them with the Sidra, but not able to hand the mark. But Fozey's ability to just line things up, and now Sarme is actually cashing in on him. We haven't seen Sarme really there to cash in on a lot as much as before with some of those team combos. It's mostly Fozey just been turning it up. Looking better here to start things off.
Unfortunately, that follow-up that Sarme did was not the right choice, and not just like seeing that in hindsight because hindsight's 2020. It's like that signature is so long. You throw out the trap, grab the person, pull them back in, and then hit them. It's such a long signature that like you're going to be punished. There's no shot that your opponent, when they're this good at the game, does not punish you for that.
Speaking of this good, that was really good defense right there. Fozey trying to get a reversal there on the pressure coming in from Delta, but Delta runs away smartly, sending him off the top. This is where you should be 2v1ing Sarme, get that damage on. Even with Fozey deep in the red, Fozey is constantly living forever, so this 2v1 game plan they have for Sarme over and over has always been working.
Fozey and Sarme were both unarmed for a considerable amount of time, but they weren't afraid to go in weapon disadvantage on the right side in edgeguard situation. Then Fozey grabbed a cannon, and now Sarme finally has an axe in his hand. Delta's the only one without a weapon. It's going to spawn on the right side platform. He's able to grab it quickly. Does take a recovery from Fozey, so he didn't get it for free. Now he's taking some more punishment from Sarme's axe, just bouncing him off the main stage with those down airs. Lead definitely in the favor of the blue team. Fozey continuing to survive, almost blasting his teammate there. Doesn't have too much damage on that second stock, so it didn't send him too far.
Even after just missing that ground pound attempt from Fozey, still not enough to take off the top. Fozey holding onto the stock for so long. Red team deep in the red. Finally, it's going to take his own teammate. It's going to be Sarme accidentally hitting Fozey to lose that stock.
And that was after, I believe it was Delta whiffed. He did D-Light into a side heavy of all things to do. Luckily, the opposite team was there to hook him up, give him the homie stock on that one. Lead still definitely in the favor of the blue team. Sarme and Macheeete are about at even damage right now, but Fozey, he's still living on this second stock. Not even worried at this point. Nice side air. Could clean up Macheeete here. No, they're going to turn their focus over onto Delta. Now Fozey turning his focus back on over to Macheeete, who's back on the main platform. One weapon spawn. Macheeete is going to grab it.
I think you're so correct on the fact that Macheeete has just not been able to, like the character just seems to not be working. Every time we see, how many times we just see him whip in a row to getting a stock loss? He is hunting for anything to find the mark. And usually we see a lot of sidelights connect or like just very good Sarah jump callouts, but they're not working as we see Sarme completely just left alone on the side, and that's going to lead to them getting a 2v1 here up against Macheeete.
Fozey's going to fall there. They're going to respawn at relatively the same time back in this. Macheeete waiting for a weapon spawn. Fozey swipes it right out of the air. We'll see if they're able to clean this one up. It can be a little bit more difficult to set up those 2v1 combos here just because the one player can retreat back onto those long walls or those soft platforms. They're hoping to finish this one out here. The dodge is gone. Out comes the ground pound for Sarme, knowing he had that one in the bag. That is the end of the game. Bro, Macheeete is like, I'm going to do 380 damage. Sometimes that will mean I do very little in the game. Other times that means I'm just going to KO my opponent at 100 damage, but I'm still only going to do 300 plus damage.
A very big difference.
Never
there
doing
as well.
400.
Yeah, always at the same mark. Consistency is key, I guess, sometimes, right? Now, you want to amp it up a bit. That time, they also shut down Delta very well.
Yeah,
only putting on 277 damage.